And today's practice is going to be about exploring Ardha Chandrasana, the half moon pose, with the support of the earth and the wall. So if you happen to have access to a wall that's wide enough space that you can stretch both arms out wide, and maybe even a little bit further, that would be tremendous. But if not, don't worry, we'll have other options. 2 blocks would be very helpful as well, and just 1 blanket. Okay, so let's begin. We will start lying down and doing the Ardha Chandrasana with the support of the earth behind our backs. That way, we don't need to deal with balance, but we can really get down the dynamics of all that's being asked from the body in order to come into this incredibly invigorating shape, right? From the center of the body out into the peripheries. The blood is just flowing, everything is opening, so it's extremely invigorating. Take your 2 blocks, have them handy, and go ahead and lie down. You can have the blanket under you or not, it's up to you. Maybe if the head and neck could use a little support, you just put it up in the area of your head. And then for starters, we'll take 1 block back behind us. Stretch, actually, before we stretch our legs out, let's just come into our forearms. And let's tilt the pelvis. Actually, let's lift the pelvis off of the ground so that you can really tilt it out in the direction of the heels. And then plant it back down, kind of lift one side, lift the other so that the bottom is really well spread. And then lengthen your spine so that it can be as long as open as possible. Taking the hand to the base of the skull to lift up the area of the neck as well. So I grew up so much taller now that I need to scoot down more in order to keep my head on the blanket. All right, so that's good news. Now take 1 block. As you straighten the legs, you can straight down through the heels so that you keep that great length that you just created. And place that block right on top of both thighs. And then stretch the arms back and reach for that other block. Now here, often so many of us, I know I do for sure, tend to compensate having one hip be in front of the other, and that causes a lot of havoc on the lumbar spine, especially over time. So with the toes pointing straight ahead, like as if you're doing Tadasana with Ardha Hastasana arms, tilt the block so in one direction, so the right upper part of the femur bone, the upper thigh, is lifting up, and then tilt it in the opposite direction. And then come back down, and that should have helped create more balance between the 2 sides. If you want to repeat, just to be more mindful, more aware, one side that dominates the other. For me, I need to lift a little bit higher through my right side than my left, but you go ahead and just play with that, observe, be curious around it. And then with the arms, as you squeeze that block, allow the collarbones to broaden. Send the shoulders down away from the ears, just activating the sides of the torso by engaging the arms. Enjoy that. Breathe. And now leave the block that's back behind you as it is. Don't remove the block, the other block just yet. Go ahead and place it between your legs and bring the legs up. And now here, what I want you to do is imagine that you are upside down. go ahead and take that block from behind you, bring it out in front of you. Imagine that you're upside down so that you're standing on the earth and the block is right there on the ground as well. And then you may find that your legs are somewhat here. Yeah? So I want you to bend your legs, all of you, bend your legs so that you can feel the support behind you, underneath you in this case, the earth. And then as you move in the direction of straightening the legs while squeezing that block between your legs, press back through the hips. So the hips are pressing down to the end of the mat as you straighten the legs. So again, a few more times like this. We're going to be in this position a few times as we work Ardha Chandrasana with support. And I want to make sure that you keep a nice long spine as you have right now with the support of the earth. So for some of us, where the hamstrings are a little bit tighter, we may need to bend the legs to maintain that. So just go ahead and play with that a few times. Get comfortable with that idea. Bending and straightening. As you straighten, send those hips back. Keep squeezing the block that's between the hands as well. Keep those arms nice and active. That's it. And then go ahead and take that block back behind you again. Release the block between the legs. And lower the right leg down. Nice. Now extending, lifting through from the inner groin to the inner heel of that left leg. Encouraging that left hip to move down. And again, take that block up. And imagine yourselves now once more upside down, like you're doing Warrior 3 with the support of the block in the hands. So that left leg is the standing leg. The right leg is kicking back. And then go ahead and do what you need to do to your hips in order to support that if you were upside down. Not upside down. If you were standing on the ground with that left leg. Notice how much you might want to engage the top of both thighs. Actually, the more you engage all the muscles and keep that kicking leg awakened, the more stability you will find. Breathe. And then from here, take the block out to the outside of the hip and the other block out further, higher up. Bend that left leg and now begin to move the leg in the direction of the blocks. Now here, the idea, so go ahead and move that top block in a little bit closer as needed to have it support the leg. Now, the purpose of the blocks there is, yes, to keep you from taking the leg all the way down, but it's for you to use this tool as a reminder of how much you want to take that outer hip into the muscles, how much you want to engage that outer hip as you spiral out through the inner groin. So the inner groin of that left leg is opening, but the outer hip of that left leg is moving in, That's your Ardha Chandrasana action, because this will be your standing leg. So go ahead and straighten that leg so you get that full effect. And here, once more, the outer hip is moving in, inner groin is moving out, the leg is rotating, so the toes are pointing down. Breathe. And you may want the blocks out of the way so you can go down a little bit further. Go ahead and do that, but not at the expense of no longer engaging the muscles. Move a little bit further, but continue to engage those outer muscles, the adductors in. The adductors of your glutes. Keep going. So you're very active here. And then you have the privilege of having that ground underneath you, supporting you. And now go ahead and envision yourself standing on that left leg in Ardha Chandrasana, looking up at the right hand. And remember what it feels like, because you know you're experiencing it right now, to have the support of the earth. Breathe. Whole front of the pelvis is open. That's a really lovely gift you give to the internal organs. And now you're going to bend that left leg again. Draw it in. I like to use my hand after I've had it out like that. It's just a nice supportive way to bring everything back in. And then straighten that left leg. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. So take the blocks over to the other side. Actually, just one block first for the hand to create that sense of warrior one. So the right leg now is up from the inner groin to the inner heel. You're lifting. And as you lift, you also want to take that femur bone and press it down. Send it down into the hip socket. The feet both are active. Both legs are active. So even though this is the leg that you're standing on the ground, the right leg, the left leg, the more active it is, the more engaged those muscles are, the lighter the pose becomes, the easier it is to balance. Breathe here. Imagine that you are standing on that right leg. Make the little adjustments that will support that. And usually that's right around the area of the pelvis. Yeah, a little tilt here or there. Notice how you tend to compensate. So it's kind of like going back to the first exercise we did, just tilting one pelvis and the other, and see, oh, which would support this pose standing if I were standing. And then from here, you're going to bend that right leg. You're going to take that block to the outside of the hip as well as the other. And then in that 90-degree angle shape, you begin to open. Now, seeing that the blocks are here, you can't go very far. At first is a wonderful reminder to continue to engage the outer glutes. Now that back leg, that standing leg, the lying down leg now, but ultimately will be the one that's kicking. Don't let it get lazy on you. It also needs to be really engaged. So rotation of the right outer hip in so that the inner groin can open as you spiral, and then go ahead and begin to straighten that right leg. And the arms are out to the sides. In fact, you're going to go and look over to the left fingertips, imagining that you are not lying down, but instead you are standing on that right leg, which is spiraling. Now I'm moving the block out a little bit more so I have the freedom to move that leg down further, but I'm continuing to engage those outer hips in. And the inner groin is now freer to open more. And then the whole pelvic region is open. The right side of the abdomen is lifting off of that right leg. Just be here. And then when we go into Ardha Chandrasana, where we're doing on the wall or with the assistance of the blocks, you are most welcome to come right back here and recreate this beautiful sensation of moving from the center of the body to the periphery with the support of the earth. Because why not, right? Take that opportunity. It's wonderful. Enjoy. As you're ready, when you're ready, bend that right leg again. I'm using my right hand to support the lift of the knee. And then taking it down. And coming back to where we started with the arms back, with both legs straight. Notice, once more, just do a little lift on either side of the hip, just shimmy, shimmy. And then as you're ready, let's go ahead and turn over to the side. And we'll come into standing. We're going to play with Trikonasana now, because that's really a wonderful way to move in the direction of the balancing pose. So we can just fold our blanket, move it out to the side for now. If you want, you can take the mat onto the wall, up to you. Just, if you have both feet on the ground, then on the ground. Both feet on the mat, on the mat. You don't want to have one foot on the ground, one foot on the mat, because then you will not feel stable and solid. So with this pose, we're going to have the blocks on either side of us. I'm going to move this in a little bit more, just to make sure it's on the camera, just in case. So we have the blocks on either side, here, for our hand. And we will face the wall first. We will take one foot, let's say, we just worked the right. So we'll take the left foot onto the wall. And now as I take the foot to the wall, you can't see it, but I'm here. So the whole ball of my foot is going to be on the wall. And that's just a wonderful way to really engage the front of the thigh. And then I'm going to step my right leg back enough that I have that nice base of the triangle shape of Trikonasana. And then of course noticing that the toes are moving at an angle, so it's not here parallel to the end of the mat, it's at an angle. The top of that thigh, that back leg is engaged, yeah? And then the front leg, that's gonna be your Ardha Chandrasana standing leg. So same principles apply. The inner groin is moving out, opening out, while the outer hip is drawing in. And then from here, I'm gonna lean onto the wall with my forearm. And that's just a wonderful opportunity to create length through the side body. And so I enjoy that length while I continue to work that back leg. I may need to scoot the back leg back a tiny bit more. And the top thigh is really fully engaged. And then I'm going to take my hand down onto the block that's outside of my shin. I'm going to bring that block a little bit closer. And then come into my pose. So I am aiming the crown of my head towards the wall. Maybe I'll take the block down one lower, depends on you. Some of you may not even need the block at all. The back leg is strong, the top of the thigh is engaged. And that front leg, the one that's pressing onto the wall, the inner groin is moving out. Outer hip is tucking in. And the whole torso, from the most central point of the base of the pelvis, from the perineum, you're going to travel all the way up to the top of the head. Lengthening, lengthening, lengthening the spine. And then as you're ready, go ahead and face the wall and pick yourselves up. Oops. So yeah, the yoga mat can slide a little, so just go ahead and bring it back in as it did for me. And then again, both blocks on either side. You're going to now this time step the right leg forward, right the ball of the foot of the right leg, and then the left leg is going to come back. Here again, the toes are angled, right? So the foot is angled, the top of the thigh is engaged, and then I'm gonna press onto that wall with the ball of my foot to really engage that front leg. So the inner groin of that front leg is spiraling out as the outer hip is spiraling in. And I'm just gonna take the forearm onto the wall as a way to invite more length through my side body. So that lower side body sometimes gets a little jammed up in poses like this. So here's an opportunity to keep that length. Outer hip is tucking in, inner groin is moving out. And then if it's there for you, use the block, bring the block closer to your shin, and then reach the left arm up. If you want to take the block one lower, or maybe not use the block at all, as needed, the props are here for you to support greater alignment. When greater alignment is not needed with the prop, then give the prop a rest. Shoulders broaden away from one another. Collarbones broaden. Neck is long. And then from the base of the spine, you're lengthening out to the crown of the head. Continue to spiral the inner groin of that front leg out. Continue to tuck that outer hip in. And please come out of the pose when you're ready to come out. Don't wait for me. And vice versa, if you wish to stay a little bit longer, when I give you the code to come out, do that. This is your practice. I'm just giving some suggestions. And then as you're ready, take your hand, bend that back leg, come in a little bit closer, be more conservative, knowing that the mat might slide. And then from here, just go ahead and take a moment to stand on your feet, to notice how that feels in Tadasana. And breathe. Now begin to play with the supported Ardha Chandrasana. You're going to take the two blocks far enough from the wall that you can come into Ardha Uttanasana, so half Uttanasana like so, and have one leg come straight back onto the wall. Okay, so move as needed. Now here, as you come into this beautiful pose, I'm going to go ahead and give you a side view because I want to bring us back to what we did earlier, lying down. And I invited you to bend the legs. So please go ahead and do this with me, whichever direction you're facing. You're bending the legs. You're sending your hips back. You're lengthening the spine forward. And then from here, as you straighten the legs, as you move in the direction of straightening the legs, you want to keep that nice long spine, as you did when you were lying down. So if there's curvature on the spine, when you're here with the blocks, maybe even fingertips, you may be better off doing this here at the wall and just lifting one leg and the other from the wall, okay? So you really need to honor the vertebrae. So again, bending the leg, straightening the leg, making sure that those shoulders are away from your ears. And as you straighten, really activate the glutes. Really activate those adductors, as I mentioned before, here, right as they connect from the glutes to the outer hips. Work that area, right there. All right, so those of you facing the wall, facing away from the wall, are going to bend the right leg, like we did before.
lifting from the inner groin, letting that outer hip drop, and then straighten the leg. Now see, I'm a little bit too close. As you straighten that right leg onto the wall, you want to see to it that the left leg is directly beneath it. And then from here, you turn so that the toes on that wall are pointing out, and so that you have the opportunity to really tuck that outer hip in as you open the inner groin. So same story from a different angle. You may feel that you want to keep just at least the fingertips onto that second block. And you may feel that you can just take the hand to the hip. In which case you would rotate the entire torso to face in the same direction as the toes that are on your wall. And maybe you take that right arm all the way up and look up. And now here again, imagine that the earth is behind you, supporting all this. Supporting that nice long spine. Remember how active both legs were. Remember the block to the outside of your left leg, helping you work that outer hip. Apply all this here to see if it gives you more freedom, more lightness into the pose. And again, if you choose to do this lying down once more, good for you. And then slowly come on back. And just take a moment kneeling down, or maybe even in child's pose, to absorb what you just did on that side. Connect with the heart. Feel the pulsation, where it's traveling to. It's so useful to observe the effects of that which we do. It gives us that taste of discerning the actions that serve us from the actions that don't serve us. And so we do it on the mat as well. Why not? Right? So coming back to that Ardha Chandrasana, and again, we're going to bend the legs as much as we need to in order to keep that long spine. Really working through the outer glutes, and then if it's there for us to straighten the legs, we do that. And if that doesn't feel available, we use the wall and we come into an incline and we move the leg back at an angle as we're able. So it'll be something like this would be your Ardha Chandrasana. Yeah? Just there. Everything is at a perfect angle. You're working it. So, as you're ready, bend your left leg at a 90-degree angle, lifting from the inner groin to the inner knee. And then as you're ready, step that leg back onto the wall. Now you want to make sure that that leg you're standing on is directly below the hip. I had to scoot my foot back a little bit more. So make the adjustment necessary. You may also want to actually physically look at that back leg and see to it that it's coming from the hip. Yeah, from the hip. So then here, just take a moment to pause. Remember where we were once lying down with one leg up, which is now your right leg, and one leg down on the ground, which is now your left leg. Shoulders broad. And then as you're ready, pivot that top foot so that it points out. Pivot the entire leg so that it points out. And maybe just left fingertips onto the block. And maybe, if it's there for you, take your left hand to the hip. The right wrist should be directly below the right shoulder. If it feels a little wobbly, don't let that be disconcerting to you. A little wavering is part of the game. Just being calm with that, being cool with that. And then if it's there for you to lift that left arm up, you do it. If it's there for you to look up at that left hand, you do it. If you need to step back and just place the hand on the wrist, on the hip, you do that. Or maybe even bring the hand back down onto the other block, you do that. Just do your best to stay solid in your foundation. And really what that means here is that leg you're standing on, your right leg, take that outer hip in. Take that inner groin out. That leg that is on the wall, press it back onto the wall. Use that wall as a reminder of how much to engage that leg. And then as you're ready, you're going to come back as you went in. Step down. And again, back to kneeling. And noticing the effects of what you just did. Now the next round will be a little bit easier than what we just did because you're going to have the whole wall to support you as you had the earth. But if you don't happen to have a lot of wall space, then you get to either do what we just did again. It'll be the same, the same instructions will apply, or you get to do it lying down on the floor as when we first started. Okay? So for those of us who are going with the wall, then I'm going to invite you to take your mat all the way next to the wall, like so, long ways. And then we will take the 2 blocks, one on either side of our feet as we stand next to the wall. Okay? So now we're going to go back to standing on the left foot and kicking with the right. So take a nice deep breath in here. Go ahead and come into Ardha Chandrasana. Arms up over the head as you stand with your body in Tadasana shape. And then lengthening forward as if you're going into Ardha Chandrasana. Now scooch your legs back. Your legs, you want them to be close enough to the wall. You want to bring your blocks really just next to each other. Really just next to each other. And then from here, we're going to, as we've been doing all along, with a nice strong back, whether you be here, here, or again, facing the wall. The spine must be long, so bend your knees as much as you need as a gauge for that, and then as you straighten the legs, you still want to keep that nice extension of your spine. Extending that right leg back. You feel the outer hip in touch with the wall. You feel the outer toes, the mount of the pinky toe onto the wall. Use that as your support. And then let's go ahead and pivot in the direction of the wall. So here again, you're standing leg, inner groin, moving out, outer hip, moving in.
And then take that, the block underneath your left hand and place it so that it's right under the shoulder. And then you're going to face the wall, and how lovely to have the wall here to use as support as you lift yourself up. Breathe. So you can crawl yourself up into the wall and maybe not even have to use the bottom arm. You see, just kind of let it dangle. Maybe if it's there for you. But even if not, can you just bring that top arm up and imagine someone supporting your wrists and lifting it up, lifting it up. And as you're ready, go ahead and come on back down. And drop that right leg down. Take a moment here, you can bend the legs. Lean back. This kind of feels really soothing. A little bit of an active child's pose, a way to rest the torso down onto the ribs, onto the thighs. And then as you're ready, come on back. Ardha Chandrasana, whether it's on your fingertips or hands, depending on where you are, with tightness of the hamstrings. And then we're going to do the other side. So now the left leg is going to come up. And we'll begin to turn away from that wall. Now again, the fingertips can stay on the block or not. So the idea here is that not that you're smashing that top hip onto the wall. Actually, that's not a good plan at all. The pelvis does not want to do that. But what you are doing is you're using that wall to again help that inner groin feel something to press up, like to move in the direction of. As the outer hip, kind of like how the blocks worked for you with the outer hip, they move in. And then you do feel the wall on the back of the head and the shoulders as you did when you were lying down. So that's lovely. And then go ahead and straighten that top arm. Breathe. And maybe here too, feel that you're being lifted from that left wrist, being lifted, suspended. Both legs are active and the torso is lengthening out and off of the pelvic floor. And then as you're ready, bend that bottom leg and find your way back. Once more, we can just take a moment here to kneel down. One more chance for Ardha Chandrasana. We'll do the other side. Yeah, so now each leg has a chance to face the wall and move away from the wall. Just one more round. So here, again, the blocks are there to support that length, right? But some of you may have enough flexibility that you're here. And some of you may have enough flexibility that you're here. So always keeping that in mind, right? The tool is here for you. I find that most of us are happy here. Then that's what I try to use, yeah? But you always serve yourself, right? And your unique abilities are to be welcomed and appreciated. So here we go. This time, the right leg is going to come up, so we're going to face away from the wall first, pivoting. And just enjoying, like you're leaning back, yeah? The wall has got you. But the more often we can remember to lean back in our lives, more often we can remember that there's something bigger than us, ready to catch us, to support us,
in ways that we can't even conceive, the more freedom we experience, yes, but perhaps even more stability. So it's worth the exploration. Breathe. And then as you're ready, bending that top leg. And coming on over to the other side. The left leg comes up. Take a moment here just to feel the outer edge of your pinky toes, the mount of the pinky toes against the wall. Really press it into the wall. And then turning the toes so that they're facing the wall. Making sure that the block, the hand are directly below the shoulders. And then pivoting on towards the wall. Again, you can crawl your way up. Maybe use that wall to support, letting that right arm dangle down. See where you are. Outer hip of that standing leg drawing in. Inner groin of that standing leg opening up. Toes of that left leg pressing onto the wall. And maybe the hand comes out. And as you're ready, when you're ready, pivot your way back in. And take it all the way down. Coming down low. So we focused quite a bit on the inner groin, opening, right? So it engaged a lot. So we'll take a little moment now to release that completely. It's not typically a fun thing to do because there's a lot of sensation, but the effects of it are so good because we hold a lot of tension, we accumulate a lot in here. So to release that is a tremendous gift. So here's what we're gonna do. We're going to sit on the block, could be like this, because we're just gonna sit on it with one of our sits bones, not both. So let's go ahead and sit on it with the left sits bone. And then the calcaneus, that heavy ankle bone, is gonna go onto the other block. Now here, this is to support engagement on that leg, okay? And you can take your blanket for your knee, for your right knee. So now, you may start here, and you can feel there's a lot of sensation. Now, the torso needs to be nice and long. So you have the wall here to remind you of that. The torso is long, and you may be feeling a lot of sensation right as you are. With that knee forward, that's okay. You may even want to have to bring the knee up closer, wherever you are. You're just letting this inner groin area drop off of the pelvis. Yeah? You may be able to go a little bit further. Take that leg all the way out to a 90-degree angle and still maintain that long spine. If so, enjoy that. The foot at a 90-degree angle, if possible. If that's too much, feels like too much, draw the foot in and you will lessen the intensity. So there's sensation here, okay, no matter what. You're not trying to escape sensation, you just want to do what you can tolerate. And this is something that you can do for quite a while. Yeah? Especially at the end of the day, there's a lot of mental activity. Just give your pelvis a chance to drop, to let go. So you can stay there for a while. Of course, you want your knee to be safe, so maybe a blanket, and if it's not for your knees, then don't do it. You can just go right into Shavasana. Yeah? And really be with this for a while. So you are inviting there's all this connection here in the leg. You're inviting all of that to release its grip, release its grip. And sometimes even untangle a bit, right? So just letting this, all of this melt and go. While breathing, while being gentle, and keeping that straight leg active as well. As you're ready, walk the knee back in. If you walked it out, lift the leg up. And we'll do the second side, yeah? So now I'm going to sit on the block facing the other way. And you really do want the sit bone right on the block, okay? And the other one can just come out. And then you also want the ankle bone right on the block too, okay? All right. From there, this side may be tighter. May not be as tight, you just don't know. So you can start in a, you don't want to feel like you're falling off the block. That's what I felt. You want to feel stable in the block. So wherever you are here, honor that. If there's a lot of sensation here, no need to go further. If you're looking for a little more sensation, move in the direction of a 90-degree angle with the foot out in a 90-degree angle as well. But if you begin to tilt towards the wall, then you know you've gone too far. So this whole side of the pelvis, you're just letting it drop. You can reach the arms up to encourage a little bit more of that length. And of course, another alternative is to double up on the blocks. Yeah? So you're sitting on something even higher. And game is to let the leg and the pelvic floor separate from one another, even if just a little. Just a little. Let them release their tight grip on one another. About asking the leg if it's willing to let go. It's also about asking the pelvis if it's willing to let go. And in that loving dialogue, with the gentle breath, observing what happens, what comes. And as full of sensation as this is, and even as emotions come up, because emotions do so deeply end up being stored in the pelvic region, we have the chance to sense the breath's depth, to sense the breath's rhythm, and to find nurturance in that, to find ease. So enjoy that. As you're ready, when you're ready, although you may want to stay there longer, walk that leg in. Come off of the blocks. We'll do Baddha for our Shavasana. So I'll just move this out of the way a little. So that you have the room you need. For the blanket, will go under the head. And the 2 blocks will go on either side of your legs. So here you are. Again, supporting those outer thighs, but now you don't have to resist up against anything. You can just really let the legs flop into the blocks. And the hands at the base of the skull to invite that length once more. And the blanket is definitely protecting the base of the skull and the neck. The area of the neck is a bit more sensitive and it could use a little support. And there you have
invite you to please stay here for at least 5 minutes. Really give your body a chance to dissolve. Continue to let go. And when the time comes for you to come out of the pose, then please turn your torso to one side. And as you bring yourselves up with that top arm, let the head be the last to come up. But don't rush into that just yet. Spend a little more time in Shavasana. From my heart to yours. Namaste.